Hi, I'm Kim. Today, as I'm sure you're aware, Fujifilm have launched a Kaizen update for their X-T3 camera. Kaizen is Fuji's term, a Japanese term really, for continued development or improvement, good change, which they bring into their cameras both through hardware in upgrades of cameras like the new X-T4 and the XS10, and in software development as the firmware updates, which is what I've put on the camera in the last couple of days. Now, I've had this on test from Fuji. As an ex-photographer, I get access to these things, put it through its paces, and I went out a little earlier today and shot it back to back with an older camera, an X Pro 2. But to even the playing field a little bit, I put Fuji's fastest focusing lens, their 16-55mm f2.8 zoom, at least that's one of the fastest lenses I own, onto the X Pro 2. And then to really check out just to see how good this new firmware update is on the X-T3, I put one of their slowest focusing lenses on that, which is the 56-1.2 portrait lens. Now, I shot them both at 2.8, ISO 10,000, 1/125, and that gave me the correct exposure for the moonlight that I was out shooting with, both near to far. I had the beep on camera, so you should be able to see just how quick they are. I think they're pretty comparable, which just goes to show the improvements that Fuji have made over an already good focusing camera with the X Pro 2 and the fast 16-55 on it. They've really brought that forward now with their portrait lens, which was always considered a very slow lens to focus, but I found it acquired focus very quickly. So let's pop outside, go back in time a little earlier today when the moon was out and it wasn't quite so dark as it is now, and have a look. Hi, I'm Kim, and I'm just come out into my local woods here to talk about Kaizen, Fuji's continual improvement of their cameras. Now, Kaizen is a Japanese term used in business, which means just continual improvement, change good, that kind of thing. And Fuji implemented in a way where they continually strive to improve their cameras, not only through new hardware, but also through new software. We're about to get firmware 4 for the X-T3. I actually have it on the X-T3 that's filming me at the moment. I got it a little ahead of time. One of the perks of being an ex-photographer, we get to test these things and give a bit of feedback on them. So how good is it? How much of improvement is it over the original X-T3 firmware and all the Kaizen updates up till now? Well, there's been a huge list of Kaizen updates, which I'll stick up on screen, and ranging from the very basic bug fixes to major improvements like version 2 and version 3, which added gimbal support and much better AF in the tracking and the speed. So really a continuous improvement, as they say they do, and that's something Fuji is synonymous for, something they're very well known for doing. I'm going to test it today by comparing it with the X Pro 2 with one of Fuji's fastest focusing lenses that I own, which is the XF16-55mm zoom. I'm going to do it at 55mm, and to make it totally unfair, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the slowest focusing zoom lens I have, which is the XF56mm, the 1.2, onto the X-T3 and do some near and far focusing. Now, I've come out late at night. As you can see, the moon is around there, I think. That's the moon there, believe it or not. It looks much better through my eyes probably than you'll see through the screen. There's a 16mm lens on the camera at the moment for the width. So let's change up the cameras. I'm going to take some shots with this, near and far. I've got the AF beep on, and hopefully I won't have to record all this because the wind noise is incredible here. I'm looking at my meter and it's really pushing out. So I've just going to set 1/125th of a second, leave the ISO on automatic, and I'm going to shoot them both at 2.8 at 55 and 56mm to see how we get on. So there's a tree just there. You can probably see some of the leaves of it just here, and then behind me as well I'm going to shoot. So let's get something that's close by. There's the beep, and something that's far away. There's the beep. There's the beep. There's the beep. Something that's far away. So that's close by. And that's ISO 10,000 to give you an idea of just how dark it is at f2.8 1/125 shutter. So, you know, quite a dull day on the zoom lens to go. Quite a slow shutter speed. So we're really not getting much lighting here. And as you can see, focusing far to near, far to something quite near. So that'll give you an idea of just how fast this lens focuses on an X Pro 2, which is the older generation of cameras. And to give you an idea of how Kaizen works with the updates both in firmware and in software, I'm going to put this on firmware 4 in the X-T3, and let's give it a go with the 56mm on that camera. Okay. You know, it's surprisingly cold tonight, so forgive me if I'm a little bit quick about this. So here we are, there's the X-T3 with the 56 on it. Hopefully you can still see this and it's not too dark. So same settings, f2.8. I'm just going to go into photo mode here. And I'm going to turn my ISO onto automatic and hit 1/125th of a second and lock those guys in. So let's see how we get on with focusing something nearby, something far away. And I'm going to turn on the beep on the camera so you can hear it. So there we go. Now, okay, so here we are with the X-T3 and the 56 1.2 in it. I've set it to 2.8, 1/125, and ISO is going to be on automatic. So I'm going to focus something near and far, just like we did with the X Pro 2, with a very fast focusing 16-55 f2.8 in it. That thing has linear motors. It's really built for speed. It's one of their Pro Series badge lenses and a really excellent workhorse for me. This is my portrait go-to lens, that and the 35mm. So let's see how we get on. So it's focusing something nearby, pretty quick, far away, pretty quick, nearby, pretty quick, far away. That's pretty dark down that end of the woods. It's just black trees silhouetted out. So that's probably too close for me to focus. Yeah, it's got it. Something far away, there we go. Something nearby, something far away, something nearby. So as far as I can make out, it's, if not the same, it may be a little bit quicker than what would be my go-to lens. So you can imagine just how fast one of their quick lenses, the F2 series primes, one of the zooms like the 50-140 or the 16-55 2.8 would be with this new firmware. A big step up. Some other advantages of the firmware, apart from changing the AF speed from 0.06 to 0.02 of a second. Some of the main advantages other than this are they put a focus limiter on this, so you can set a minimum focus distance. So if you're using a long lens, you might want to be maybe setting your focus 5 meters and away. You'll see some of those switches on some of the other lenses like the 100 to 400. But now you can do it in camera in the Firmware 4 XT3, which I think is a great advantage if you're shooting sports or birds in flight and that kind of thing. And other than that, we have got an improvement in AF tracking, both in speed and continuous, and some other updates, which I'll list in a minute. Let's talk to them. I'm getting cold, so let's get back into the studio where it's nice and warm and we can continue this there. Okay, boom. So there you go. Hopefully you've got an idea of just how good that firmware update is on the X-T3, and it brings the camera right up to speed. You could probably imagine how fast it would be with a fast focusing lens in there. Now there's other updates in there as well, not just the speed of focus. The access to the eye tracking has been greatly improved. The low light sensitivity of the focus in phase detection has been brought all the way down to -7 EV in the X-T3, which is pretty phenomenally low. But that's only if you stick the 50mm F1 on it. Obviously, as you go up in the f-stops, you decrease your ability to focus in such a low level of light because there's physics that are involved at the time. But still, pretty incredible. I've shot lots of gigs with mine using the 2.8 lens, and I found it pretty good. In the standard light you'll get in gigs around the place, and certainly bigger stages are very bright, so it's not really a question there. But small dingy pub gigs, different story. You really need to let in as much light as you can. So it's good to see Fuji making that development happen. Some other updates included a focus limiting setup in software, so you could set your lens to not focus closer than say 2 meters or 5 meters. And there's also a custom setting you can have where you can actually pick a range of points near and far focus and just have it focus between those two things, which would be very handy if you're shooting birds from a certain distance away, or a football game or a softball game or something like that. Really a great advantage for a longer lens that doesn't already have that switch built in, like the 100 to 400 would have. You can see it on that lens. We're going to do a review of that lens pretty soon, once I can nick it back from Dan, which I'm sure he won't mind for me to finish that off. I've been using it on and off over the year. But anyway, back to the Kaizen update. So now you're left with a quandary. If you're not going to spend the money and buy a brand new X-T4, but you want a new camera, is the X-T3 still a great buy to have? Well, with this new firmware update, I think it really brings the autofocus right on par with the X-T4. So what you're missing out on is 240 frames a second at 1080 for video. That might not be such a big thing, but you are missing out on the IBIS. And I think for a lot of people, that will be a make or break point in the deal. The newer battery gets a little bit more juice into it, so you've got a bit of a longer life in there. Now, I've not found the X-T3 that bad. The CEPA rating says something like 400 shots. I know when I'm shooting a wedding, I use 2 cameras and in total 4 batteries, and neither of them are anyway near drained by the time I've changed them. So I'm not having a problem with that at all. So what are your thoughts? Have you tried the new software yet? What do you think? Maybe let me know down in the comments, and that's just below the like button if you want to hit that too while you're here and give me a bit of encouragement to make some more videos. I appreciate everything I get, and I read all the comments and try and answer as many questions as I can. So if you have some, let me know and we'll get a dialogue going. So that's it for me. Short, quick video. Back with another one real soon. Talk to you later. Bye. Hi, I'm Kim. I've had the Kaizen updates. Nope.